How much does a studio robot arm cost? Oh wow, that is a lot. How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So by the title of this video, you know that we're going to be talking about robot arms. And if you're interested in creating a budget option from home, I might have a solution for you. So I'm going to be showing you a breakdown behind the scenes video of how I created these robotic arm shots. Let me first show you what I managed to create. In order to create this shot, we're going to need a few different props. Starting off with the backdrops, I've got these ones from V-Flat World, and that's creating a concrete floor and a wooden backdrop, which fits so nicely with the gin bottles. Then I've obviously got the actual items I'm using, and it's important that you have two different things that you can show, because later on we're going to do a shot that's going to allow us to split between the left and the right hand side. So on the right hand side, I've got my glass wooden board and also a palm leaf that is hanging from the top right hand corner. And then on the left side, I've got the 4 gin bottles, which looks amazing when the light is shining through it, but that's going to be the difference between the two scenes. Obviously, as you saw in the shot, we're actually going to change what happens in the right hand scene towards the end clip. So you're going to want to add in things to add some extra depth, like lemons and limes or fake ice as well in your glass, and I'm also adding some sparkling water as well to make it look fizzy. Next up, let's talk about lighting, and I've got 3 lights for this whole shoot. The first one has got a Fresnel on it, and that is coming from the left hand side and hitting the back of the bottles. It's emulating that sunlight look, making it look really warm and vibrant, but also you get those strong shadows going across the base of the board. Then we've got our spotlight, which is hitting the wooden backdrop, and that is creating this strip of light that's going from the top left hand corner to the bottom right hand corner. And finally, we've got our main key light, which is a 200 watt light, and it's got a strip box modifier and it's resting up against a diffusion panel. This is creating some graduated light, but also helping us out for one particular reason, and that is because of the glass that sat there. And this has a gold reflective label, and that graduated light is wrapping around the glass, allowing us to see the gold shine on the front, and it makes it look so much better for the shoot. If you're trying to create a robotic shot, you're going to need something more than just a slider. You need something that provides more axes that you can use to create dynamic movements. And that object is going to be a gimbal. The gimbal has 3 axes that we can use to actually go up, down, left and right, but also at slight tilting and diagonal angles, but it counters what we're doing. So if I'm moving down or up, then it's going to try and keep the camera stabilized as much as possible. But that doesn't really solve the full issue, because if I'm using a gimbal and I'm trying to go up and down, left and right, well, I'm going to struggle to keep it straight. So how do we solve that issue? Well, we solve it by introducing a tripod, and this one has got the ability to do panning and tilting as well. So as we attach the gimbal and I release these bits, I can now freely move it going left and right and up and down. But obviously as the gimbal's tilting, we can then create movements which are extremely stable. We've got the gimbal mounted on the tripod, so we're ready to set up the first shot. But we do need to make a small change on our gimbal settings in order for this to work really well. And that small change we need to do is putting the gimbal into lock mode. And lock mode allows us to keep the gimbal in a certain angle at all times whilst it's moving around. Obviously, this may be different depending on what gimbal you're using, but I'm using the Zion Crane 4, and you may have a DJI RS3 or RS4, but I'm pretty sure you can do the same settings as well. Now we got it set up, we're going to work on the sequence. So starting here, we're going to have a shot of it facing the glass and the palm leaf in the backdrop. Then we're going to move the gimbal up in one fluid motion to the top here, and it's going to be viewing down from a higher perspective on the bottles. Then it's going to go downwards and it's going to be facing the front of the bottles, and that is when we're going to pause it and lock it in place. Now we've got that perfectly locked in place, we just need to do the switch with the other glass and add in those elements that we wanted to make it more interesting and different in the transition process. All that's left to do is unlock the panning mechanism on the tripod and we can move from left to right really smoothly with no shakes, and hopefully our transition is complete. Let's move on to the edit. It's really basic to edit, so you can use any editing software you like. I'm personally using Final Cut Pro for this particular sequence. Once you've got your footage imported onto your timeline, we first need to find the start and the end points of the clip. So in this situation, we need to find the glass that's shot first, and then we need to move along and find where we stopped for the front of the bottles. And afterwards, we need to find where we transition to the filled glass. So I'm going to scrub through and find the bit where just before I move, which is here. I'm then going to scrub all the way through to the point where I stop for the first time, which is here, and you can see I've moved down and paused the movement of the gin bottles. And I'm going to make another cut here by hitting B on my keyboard and cutting the clip there. And then I'm scrubbing all the way through until I find where I move again. So here, just before I go to the glass, so I'm going to hit B on my keyboard again and cut the clip. And we're going to delete this middle section. So now we should have a sequence that starts with the glass, and then it moves along up to the top, moves again back down to the front of the glass, and eventually we may need to tweak this a bit, but then it moves across to the new drink. And of course, we can get rid of that extra footage on the end as it carries on, so then we have a finishing shot. Next, what you'll need to do is group your clips together so that we can apply the speed ramping on top. What I'll do is I'll create a new compound clip, and I'm just going to call this one Robot Arm Demo. And I've created a new group there of the clips together. Now what I can do is go back through and find the points where I need to do some speed ramping. So the first shot is moving here. So I'm going to go up to my speed tool and I'm going to hit blade speed on that, which creates a separation between two speeds. Then what I'm going to do is do the same again. So there's a bit of a gap here, and then I'm going to just wait until I move again, hit blade speed, and this is for the space where I'm not moving. And then when I'm moving again, and then I stop moving, I'm going to do blade speed here. And then I'm going to repeat that process. So there's a gap here where I'm not moving, so I'll do blade speed, and then I start moving again, and I'll do it just before I stop, which is here. Then what I can do is I can speed up each section. So the beginning clip can be a lot faster, and then I may want to speed up this section here where I'm not moving a little bit too much. And then this section needs to be a lot faster again. And then that bit's fine where I pause, and then so I'll speed this section up a lot. So altogether it should be a lot quicker, and it gives that feeling of a robot arm movement. And obviously you can tweak that accordingly to how you want, if you want it a bit faster or a bit slower. So I might want some of these sections a little bit faster. The other thing I'll do as well is I'll shorten the duration of when the speed comes in. So I want this to be quite a quick speed movement rather than a build up and it's like gradually building up to that speed. I want this to be very fast like a robot arm would do. So I'm going to shorten these end bits down here. So as soon as it changes from one speed to another, it's going to be more impactful. So that looks more realistic to what a robot arm would do. The next thing that I'm going to do as well is add some motion blur on top, because we don't want the movement to be super crisp. When you're moving that fast, you want some natural movement. And I'm going to add on this moderate motion blur here, and then I'm going to tweak it so that it goes to the points that start moving. So the first bit here starts moving fast, and then this section here starts moving fast. And once we've added those on, just like that, we have some amazing natural motion blur to the clips, which makes it look so much better. And in just a few simple steps, you can see that we've got an edit that looks great for social media or brand work. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, guys, and let me know if you want more editing tutorials or creative ideas. Hopefully I'll see you in the next one.